The ship came out of faster than light travel with a soft hum. Captain Park Do-hyun stood at the viewing window and looked at the massive space station floating in the darkness. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. Lights covered every part of it like a city made of stars. This was Station Eridu 7, the meeting place of the Galactic Assembly. And today, humans would walk inside it for the first time. Do-hyun was a tall man with broad shoulders and calm eyes. His hands had old scars on them from years of hard work and harder fights. He never talked about where those scars came from. He did not need to. The people who served under him knew he had earned every one of them. Behind him, Dr. Lee Yuna checked her equipment one more time. She was the team's expert on alien life. She had spent 15 years studying every piece of information Earth had collected about other species. Now she would finally meet them in person. Her heart beat fast with excitement, but her face stayed calm. That was how she always was. Calm on the outside, burning with curiosity on the inside. Lieutenant Kim Tai-woo stood by the door with his arms crossed. He was shorter than Do-hyun, but built like a wall. His job was to keep everyone safe. He looked at the station through the window and tried to count how many ways things could go wrong. It was a habit he could not break. Earth had taught him to always be ready for danger. The ship moved slowly toward the docking area. Other ships floated nearby. Some were long and thin like needles. Others were round like bubbles. A few looked like nothing Do-hyun had ever seen before. Each one came from a different world, carrying beings that had never seen a human. A voice came through the communication system. It was soft and musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Human vessel, you are cleared for docking at Port 17. Welcome to Station Eridu 7. Ambassador Pelham will meet you at the arrival gate. Do-hyun pressed the button to respond. Thank you. We are honored to be here. The ship locked into place with a gentle click. The three humans looked at each other. This was the moment they had trained for. The moment humanity had waited for since they first looked up at the stars and wondered if someone was looking back. The door opened. The air that came in was clean and cool. It smelled faintly of something sweet, like flowers from a garden Do-hyun had never visited. They stepped out onto a walkway made of something that looked like glass but felt solid under their feet. Ambassador Pelham was waiting for them. Do-hyun had seen pictures of the Vellani before, but pictures did not prepare him for the real thing. Pelham was tall and thin, with skin that was almost see-through. Do-hyun could see light passing through the ambassador's arms. The Vellani had 4 of those arms, each one ending in delicate fingers that moved like they were dancing, even when Pelham stood still. 2 large eyes, dark blue and shining, looked at the humans with gentle interest. Welcome, Pelham said. The words came from a small device on the ambassador's chest. The translator turned the Vellani language into something humans could understand. I am Ambassador Pelham. I have been given the honor of helping you during your time here. Don bowed his head slightly. I am Captain Park Do-hyun. This is Dr. Lee Yuna and Lieutenant Kim Tai-woo. We thank you for receiving us. Pelham's 4 arms made a complicated gesture that the translator explained was a sign of welcome. Please follow me. Your quarters have been prepared. We have done our best to make them comfortable for your species. They walked through wide hallways filled with beings from dozens of worlds. Do-hyun saw creatures with scales and creatures with fur. He saw beings that floated in the air and beings that rolled along on wheels that seemed to grow from their bodies. Some were smaller than his hand. Others were so large they had their own special corridors. Everyone stared at the humans. Do-hyun understood why. Humans were new here. Nobody knew what to expect from them. In a place where every species had known each other for thousands of years, humans were the strangers. The unknown. Pelham led them to a room with soft lighting and simple furniture. We have set the temperature to 22 degrees, the ambassador explained. The air is a nitrogen-oxygen mix, similar to what our records say your planet has. If anything is not right, please tell me. Yuna looked around the room. This is very comfortable. Thank you. We were not sure what you would need, Pelham admitted. Most species have very specific requirements. Some need higher gravity. Others need certain gases in the air, or they cannot breathe. We tried to match what little information we had about Earth. Taiwu walked to the window and looked out at the station. Ships came and went. Beings of all shapes moved through the corridors below. It is amazing, he said quietly. So many different kinds of life, all in one place. Pelham seemed pleased by this reaction. The assembly has existed for 12,000 years. In that time, we have welcomed 407 species. Humanity is 408. That night, there was a dinner to welcome the humans. Representatives from 12 species gathered in a great hall with a ceiling so high it disappeared into darkness. Tables floated in the air, each one set at a different height for different kinds of beings. The humans were given a table near the center of the room. Every eye in the place watched them. The food was strange. Some of it glowed. Some of it moved. Yuna picked up something that looked like a purple fruit and bit into it without hesitation. It tasted like honey and smoke. She nodded and kept eating. Pelham watched with surprise. You are not afraid to try new foods? Dohin smiled as he picked up something that looked like a green stick. Humans have eaten stranger things on our own world. The ambassador did not understand what he meant. But something about the way Dohin said it made Pelham feel a small shiver. There was a story behind those words. A story Pelham did not know yet. As the dinner continued, the humans talked and laughed with the alien representatives. They asked questions about other worlds. They shared simple facts about Earth. They were polite and friendly and warm. But Pelham noticed something. When Taiwu moved, he moved like someone who was always ready for a fight. When Yuna smiled, there was something sharp hiding behind her eyes. And when Do-Yoon spoke, his voice was calm, but his hands never fully relaxed. These humans were kind. They were curious. They were gentle. But they were not soft. Pelham made a note to learn more about Earth. Where did these beings come from? What kind of world made creatures that smiled so easily, but watched every shadow? The ambassador did not know it yet, but the answer to those questions would change everything. 3 weeks passed on Station Eridu 7. The humans settled into their new life, among the stars. They attended meetings. They visited different parts of the station. They met beings from worlds so far away that light took millions of years to travel between them. And everywhere they went, they surprised people. It started with small things. The corridors in some parts of the station were cold. Most species wore special suits to walk through them. The humans did not. They walked through in their normal clothes, their breath making small clouds in the air, and they did not complain. Are you not cold? A Valani worker asked Yuna one day. She shook her head. This is nothing. Where I grew up, winter was much colder than this. The worker did not know what winter meant. When Yuna explained that Earth's temperature changed throughout the year, sometimes by 60 or 70 degrees, the worker's eyes grew wide with fear. Then, there was the food. The station had thousands of different foods from hundreds of worlds. Some were poisonous to most species. Some were so spicy that they could burn the mouths of beings with sensitive tongues. The humans tried everything. Taiwu found a dish that came with a warning label. It was from a world called Kreth, and it was famous for being so spicy that most beings could not even smell it without crying. He ate the whole plate and asked for more. How? The Kreth chef demanded. How are you not dying? Taiwu laughed. On Earth, we have something called ghost peppers. This is mild compared to that. The chef did not know whether to be impressed or terrified. But the biggest surprise came in the training hall. The station had a place where beings from different worlds could practice fighting. It was mostly used by Namoravi, a species of large insect-like creatures known for their strength. They were considered the finest warriors in the galaxy. Each one stood over 2 meters tall, with hard shells and powerful arms that could crush metal. Taiwo asked if he could spar with one of them. The Moravi warrior, who agreed, was named Keth. He looked down at the human with something like amusement. Taiwo was half his size. This would be easy. It was not easy. Taiwo could not match Keth's strength. But he did not try to. Instead, he moved around the larger warrior like water flowing around a rock. He was fast. He was smart. He found the weak points in Keth's defense and struck them again and again. When Keth grabbed him, Taiwo twisted free using techniques the Moravi had never seen. The fight lasted 10 minutes. In the end, neither of them won. But that was the point. No being had ever lasted more than 2 minutes against a Moravi warrior. This small human had lasted 10. Words spread through the station. Who were these beings? Where did they come from? Pelham decided it was time to find out. The ambassador invited the human delegation to a meeting room in the diplomatic section. Several other representatives were there. They all wanted to know more about humanity's homeworld. We need to discuss classification, Pelham explained after everyone sat down. It is standard procedure for new species. We must understand your world so we can properly welcome you to the assembly. Dawn nodded. Of course. What do you need to know? We need to know what classification Earth holds in your records. Every world has a rating based on how dangerous it is. Most species come from Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Some come from Class 3. The Moravi, who are considered very hardy, come from a Class 4 world. Pelham pulled up a display showing the classification system. Class 1 worlds were safe, gentle, perfect for life. Class 2 worlds had some challenges. Class 3 worlds were difficult. Class 4 and above were considered harsh. So, Pelham continued, what class is Earth? Dohyun looked at Yuna, then at Taiwo. Something passed between them. A look that Pelham could not read. It might have been amusement. It might have been something else. Death World, Dohyun said. His voice was calm, casual, like he was talking about the weather. Class 12. The room went silent. Pelham's 4 hands stopped moving. The other representatives froze. A Moravi's mandibles clicked in shock. An Ulathi delegate, floating in a tank of water, began to bubble violently. I am sorry, Pelham said slowly. The translator must have made an error. Could you repeat that? Death World Class 12, Dohyun said again. And this time, Pelham heard something in the human's voice. It was pride. He was proud of this. Earth, 3rd planet from our sun. Survival index of 0.07. Pelham's hands were shaking as he accessed the galactic database. Death World was a classification that existed only in theory. Class 1 through 5 were quarantined. No species was allowed to visit them. Class 6 through 9 were considered impossible for complex life. Class 10 and above were mathematical concepts. Numbers used by scientists to calculate the upper limits of how dangerous a world could be. No one lived on death worlds. No one could. The highest classification ever recorded for a world with sentient life was Class 4, and the species from that world, the Moravi, were considered the toughest beings in the galaxy. Class 12 was not supposed to exist. There must be a mistake, Pelham whispered. Yuna smiled. It was a gentle smile, but Pelham suddenly noticed her teeth. The front ones were flat, good for grinding, but the ones on the sides were pointed, sharp, made for tearing. No mistake, she said. Would you like to hear about our home? The Moravi representative leaned forward. His voice was quiet, almost afraid. What kind of world could be Class 12? Do-hyun thought about how to answer. How could he explain Earth to beings who had never seen it? How could he describe a world where everything was trying to kill you, and you learned to kill it back? Earth is beautiful, he began. It has blue oceans and green forests and mountains that touch the sky. But it is also dangerous. The ground shakes and opens up to swallow cities. Mountains explode and cover the land in fire and ash. The water rises and drowns everything in its path. The air spins into storms that can tear buildings apart. He paused. The room was completely silent. And that is just the planet itself, he continued. That is before we talk about what lives there. Pelham felt a cold feeling spreading through his body. He had studied thousands of species. He had welcomed dozens of new civilizations to the assembly. He thought he understood the galaxy, but looking at the calm humans sitting across from him, speaking about his hellish homeworld like it was nothing special, Pelham realized he understood nothing. These beings had walked through the fires of a Class 12 death world, and they had not just survived. They had thrived. I think, Pelham said slowly, we need to hear more about Earth. Do-hyun smiled. It was a friendly smile. The kind of smile you give to a neighbor or a friend. But now Pelham saw it differently. Now he saw the smile of something that had clawed its way to the top of the most dangerous world in the galaxy. Of course, Do-hyun said. We would be happy to share. The other representatives leaned in closer. Fear and curiosity mixed on their faces. They were about to learn what kind of hell had forged humanity, and they were not ready for it. The presentation room was dark except for the glow of the holographic display in the center. 30 species had sent representatives to hear about Earth. They sat in seats that floated at different heights, arranged in a circle around the display area. All eyes watched as Dr. Lee Yuna walked to the center of the room. Behind her, Captain Do-hyun and Lieutenant Taiwu stood near the wall. Their faces were calm, but their eyes moved constantly, watching the crowd, watching the doors. Old habits from Earth. Always be aware of your surroundings. Always be ready. Yuna activated the display. A blue and green sphere appeared in the air. White clouds swirled across its surface. Oceans sparkled in the light of a yellow sun. This is Earth, Yuna said. Our home. It looked beautiful, peaceful. Several representatives made sounds of appreciation. 70% of the surface is covered in water, Yuna continued. Most of that water will kill you if you drink it. It is filled with salt. If you fall into the deep parts, the pressure will crush you. If you stay on the surface too long, you will die of thirst surrounded by water you cannot drink. The sounds of appreciation stopped. The remaining 30% is land. Much of it is also trying to kill you. Yuna changed the display to show a map of Earth. These areas here are deserts. During the day, the temperature rises above 50 degrees. At night, it drops below freezing. There is almost no water. Almost nothing to eat. Humans live there anyway. A Vellani scientist raised a hand. Why would anyone choose to live in such a place? Because we had no choice, Yuna said. Humans spread across the entire planet. We learned to survive everywhere. We adapted. She changed the display again. Now it showed a frozen landscape. White ice stretched as far as the eye could see. This is called the Arctic. Temperatures here drop to -40 degrees or lower. The wind can freeze exposed skin in minutes. There are no plants. Very little food. She paused. Humans live here too. The room was getting quieter with each new image. Earth has something we call seasons, Yuna explained. Our planet tilts as it moves around our sun. This means the temperature changes throughout the year. In some places, the difference between the hottest and coldest days can be 70 degrees or more. Beings on Earth must be able to survive these changes. Those who cannot die. A Moravi warrior spoke up. The temperature changes that much? How does anything survive? We adapt, Una said simply. We have always adapted. It is what humans do. She changed the display to show the inside of Earth. Layers of rock and fire. Our planet is not stable. The ground is made of massive pieces we call plates. These plates move. When they push against each other, the ground shakes. Buildings fall. The Earth opens up and swallows everything. She showed images of destroyed cities, cracks in the ground, collapsed highways. We call these earthquakes. They happen thousands of times every year. And you continue to live on this world? Someone asked. We have no other choice. Earth is our home. We build our cities. The ground shakes and destroys them. We build them again. The display changed to show a mountain. But this was not a normal mountain. Fire and smoke poured from its top. These are volcanoes. They are mountains that explode. When they erupt, they cover the land in melted rock so hot it burns everything it touches. They fill the air with ash that blocks the sun. They release gases that poison the air. One volcano, long ago, nearly killed all life on Earth. Una let that sink in. We have hundreds of active volcanoes on our planet. The room had become very still. Our sun, Una continued, showing the yellow star in the display, sends out radiation that can damage our bodies. Too much exposure causes something we call cancer. Our cells begin to grow wrong. They attack our own bodies from inside. The same sun that gives us light and warmth is slowly trying to kill us. She changed the display again. This time, images of animals appeared. But the planet and the sun are not our biggest threats. Those would be the other living things. A tiger appeared in the display. It was huge, with orange and black fur and teeth as long as a human finger. This is a tiger. It is a predator. It hunts other animals and eats them, including humans. On Earth, we are not at the top of the food chain by default. We had to fight for that position. More images appeared. A great white shark with rows of sharp teeth. A snake with scales and fangs dripping with venom. A spider the size of a hand. These creatures kill thousands of humans every year. Some use poison. Some use strength. Some are so small you cannot see them. She showed an image of a tiny insect. It was small and fragile looking. This is a mosquito. It is one of the smallest animals on Earth. It is also the deadliest. These insects carry diseases that have killed more humans than all our wars combined. Hundreds of millions of people have died because of this tiny creature. The Ulithi delegate's tank bubbled with distress. A creature that small is your greatest killer? On Earth, size does not matter. Danger comes in all forms. We have bacteria and viruses so small you need special machines to see them. Some of these can kill a human in days. Some can kill millions in months. We call them plagues. We have had many throughout our history. Taiwu stepped forward from his place by the wall. We evolved alongside all of these threats. We learned to fight them, to outsmart them, to survive them. But how? The Moravi warrior asked. You are not the biggest, not the strongest, not the fastest. How did your species survive? Doyun answered. He walked to stand beside Yuna, his hands clasped behind his back. We are persistence hunters, he said. Our ancestors did not need to be the strongest or the fastest. We simply never stopped. When we found prey, we would follow it for days, across any terrain, through any weather. The animal would run, and we would walk after it. It would run again, and we would keep walking. Eventually, the animal would collapse from exhaustion, and we would still be there, still coming. The room was completely silent. Nothing on Earth could outrun human patience, Do-hyun continued. We would chase our prey until it gave up, until it could not run anymore, until it died of fear and exhaustion. He let those words hang in the air. And when we were not hunting, we were being hunted. So we learned to work together, to communicate, to build tools, to use fire. We turned our weaknesses into strengths. We could not run fast, so we invented ways to travel without running. We could not fight with claws and teeth, so we made weapons. Yuna added one more thing. Humans do not just survive dangerous conditions. We seek them out. For fun, she showed new images. A human climbing a mountain so tall the air was too thin to breathe. A human diving deep into the ocean where the pressure could crush metal. A human falling from an aircraft with nothing but a piece of fabric to slow them down. We climb mountains that can kill us. We dive into depths that can crush us. We throw ourselves out of flying machines and call it entertainment. She smiled. We even created sports where we fight each other for fun. The Moravi warrior made a sound that the translator could not fully explain. It was somewhere between respect and horror. Your species, he said slowly, is insane. Do-hyun smiled. Perhaps. But we are also still here. After millions of years on a death world, we are still here. And now, we are reaching for the stars. He looked around the room at the shocked, frightened, amazed faces of 30 different species. Earth made us. It tried to kill us every single day, and it made us stronger. Now we want to share that strength. We want to be your friends, your allies. He extended his hand, palm open. A human gesture of peace. What do you say? Nobody answered. They were still trying to understand what kind of beings could call such a nightmare home, and love it. The attack came at night. Station. Eridu 7 had a day and night cycle, even though it floated in the endless darkness of space. The lights dimmed during the night hours so that species who needed sleep could rest. Most of the corridors were quiet. Most of the beings on the station were in their rooms. That was when the first explosion shook the walls. Captain Park Do-hyun was awake in an instant. Years of training had taught him to sleep light. Years on Earth had taught him that danger did not wait for you to be ready. He was out of bed and dressed in seconds. Another explosion. Closer this time. The lights flickered and then changed to red. Emergency colors. Do-hyun grabbed his communication device. Taiwu Yuna, report. Taiwu's voice came back immediately. He sounded calm, focused. I am in the lower corridors. Explosions came from the docking area. I can hear weapons fire. Yuna's voice followed. I am in the medical section. Some of the Villani staff are panicking. What is happening? Do-hyun opened his door and looked into the hallway. Smoke drifted through the air. Alarms were screaming. Somewhere in the distance, he could hear screaming that was not from alarms. Raiders, he said. Someone is attacking the station. This was not supposed to happen. Station Eridu 7 was in safe space, protected by treaties, protected by the Assembly's reputation. No one attacked Assembly stations, but someone was attacking now. Do-hyun moved through the corridors like a ghost. He did not run. Running was loud. Running made you tired. He walked with purpose, his eyes scanning every shadow, every corner. His body remembered training from years ago. Training that had made him ready for moments like this. He found Ambassador Pelham cowering in a storage room. The Villani's forearms were wrapped around his body. His large eyes were full of fear. Captain Park, Pelham gasped. What is happening? Who would attack us? I do not know yet, Do-hyun said. But you need to come with me. It is not safe here. Where can we go? The attackers are everywhere. I can hear them. Stay behind me. Dahin's voice was hard now. Not cruel, but hard. Like stone. I will keep you safe. They moved through the hallways. Pelham had never seen a human move like this before. Dahin did not look scared. He did not look worried. He looked focused, alert. Every step was careful. Every movement was controlled. This was not a diplomat anymore. This was something else. Something older. Something dangerous. 3 figures appeared at the end of the corridor. They were Kaleshi, a species known for violence and cruelty. Each one stood over 2 meters tall, covered in dark scales, holding weapons that glowed with deadly energy. They were raiders, pirates, beings who attacked weaker species and took what they wanted. They saw Dahyun and laughed. "Look at this," one of them said. "A tiny creature trying to be brave. Put down any weapons and maybe we will kill you quickly." Dahyun did not have any weapons. The humans had come to the station as diplomats. They had not brought guns or blades or anything that could hurt, but Dahyun smiled anyway. "I do not need weapons," he said. He moved. Pelham's eyes could not follow what happened next. It was too fast. One moment, Dahyun was standing still. The next moment, he was among the Kaleshi. He did not fight like the elegant warriors in the entertainment shows Pelham sometimes watched. He fought like an animal. No, worse than an animal. An animal fought for survival. Dahyun fought like something that knew exactly how to take apart another living thing. He used the walls. He used the floor. He used the raiders' own weapons against them. He found the weak points in their armor and struck them again and again. He was smaller and weaker, but he was faster and smarter and more vicious than anything the Kaleshi had ever faced. 12 seconds. That was all it took. 3 Kaleshi warriors lay broken on the floor. 1 was dead. 2 were unconscious and would not wake up for hours. Dahyun stood among them. He was not even breathing hard. Pelham pressed himself against the wall. His whole body was shaking. He had just watched the being half the size of a Kaleshi destroy 3 of them with his bare hands. "What are you?" Pelham whispered. Dahyun looked at him. For a moment, his eyes were cold, empty, the eyes of a predator that had just finished a hunt. Then the warmth returned, and he was the friendly diplomat again. "I am human," he said simply. "Come, we need to keep moving." Elsewhere on the station, Lieutenant Kim Tae-woo had gathered the 7 other humans from the delegation. They were security officers and engineers, men and women who had trained for situations like this. They faced 40 raiders. The Kaleshi had expected easy targets. Soft diplomats. Frightened merchants. Species that had forgotten how to fight because they had been peaceful for so long. They did not expect humans. The fight in the cargo bay lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, 18 raiders were dead. 15 were injured so badly they could not move. 7 had surrendered. Not a single human had fallen. Tae-woo stood over the surrendering raiders, his fists bloody, his breathing steady. A cut on his arm was bleeding freely, but he did not seem to notice. "Who sent you?" he asked. The lead raider, a Kaleshi with half his scales broken and one arm bent at a wrong angle, could not answer. He was too busy staring at the small human who had just torn through his best warriors like they were nothing. "What are you?" he managed to say. Tae-woo smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "We are what happens when you attack our friends." In the medical section, Dr. Lee Yuna was protecting a group of wounded Villani. The raiders had tried to break in. They did not succeed. Yuna had found a surgical laser. It was a tool for delicate medical work. She had modified it in 30 seconds to become something far less delicate. 3 raiders had tried to enter the medical bay. 3 raiders had learned that the small female human with the gentle smile was not as harmless as she looked. When station security finally arrived, they found Eunice standing in the doorway. Her clothes were torn. Her hands were burned from the heat of the laser. Her face was splattered with blood that was not her own. She was smiling. "The patients are safe," she said cheerfully. "Would you like me to help treat the injured raiders? I am a doctor, after all." The security officers could only stare. By morning, the attack was over. The Crimson Faction, a pirate group that had terrorized this sector for decades, had been completely destroyed. Their ships had been captured. Their fighters were dead or in custody. The station's casualties were light. Thanks to the humans, Ambassador Pelham found Captain Doyen in the diplomatic chamber. The human was sitting alone, cleaning blood from his knuckles with a piece of cloth. He looked tired now. Not physically tired, but tired in a different way. "Captain," Pelham said quietly, "I wanted to thank you. You saved my life. You saved many lives." Dawn nodded. "I am glad we could help. How?" Pelham asked. "How did you do it? Your species has no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. How did you defeat warriors twice your size?" Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. He looked at his hands. Small hands. Soft hands compared to the armored fists of a Kaleshi. "Earth," he said finally. "Earth taught us that everything is trying to kill you. It also taught us to kill it first." He looked up at Pelham with eyes that held millions of years of evolution. Millions of years of fighting, surviving, winning. "We are what our world made us," he said. "We did not ask to be this way, but we are grateful for it, because it means we can protect the people who cannot protect themselves." Pelham sat down across from him. His fear was fading now, replaced by something else: respect, awe, and maybe, just maybe, hope. "What will you do now?" Pelham asked. Doyen smiled. It was a tired smile, but a genuine one. "Now," he said, "we talk to the Assembly. It is time for them to understand what humanity really is." The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly was full. 200 species had sent their representatives. Some floated in tanks of water. Some sat in specially made chairs. Some hung from the ceiling or stood in pools of light that kept them warm. Every kind of being from every kind of world had come to discuss one thing: humanity. Ambassador Pelham stood at the center of the chamber. He had requested the right to speak first. The Assembly had granted it. After what happened during the attack, everyone wanted to hear what Pelham had to say about the humans. "I have spent time with these beings," Pelham began. "I have watched them laugh and eat and talk about things they love. I have seen them show kindness to species they had never met before. They are curious. They are warm. They are friendly." He paused. The chamber was silent. Everyone was listening. "But they are not like us." Pelham pulled up a display showing the information he had gathered. Images of Earth, data about human biology, records from the attack. The humans come from a world that should have killed them. A death world class 12. That classification was supposed to be theoretical. It was supposed to be impossible. But Earth is real, and humans survived it. The Ulithi delegate raised a tentacle. "That is exactly our concern. These beings are too dangerous. They defeated 40 raiders with only 7 fighters. They tore through armored warriors with their bare hands. Can we truly trust such creatures?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Many species had watched the recordings of the battle. Many had seen how the humans fought. They were scared. "They are dangerous," Pelham admitted. "I do not deny this. I watched Captain Park destroy 3 Kaleshi warriors in seconds. I saw Dr. Lee defend wounded patients with nothing but a modified tool. These beings are built for violence in ways we cannot understand. He lowered his hands. His voice became softer. But I also saw something else. I saw them risk their lives to save beings they had just met. I saw them run toward danger instead of away from it. Not for money, not for power, simply because people needed help. A Moravi representative stood. It was Keth, the warrior who had sparred with Taiwu weeks ago. "I fought one of them," Keth said. His voice was rough but respectful. He was half my size. He had no armor, no weapons, but he lasted 10 minutes against me. I have never faced anyone like him. The Moravi paused, and when the fighting was over, he bowed to me with respect. He treated me as an equal, not as an enemy. More murmurs, but different this time. Less afraid, more thoughtful. "The question is not whether humans are dangerous," Pelham continued. "They are. The question is what they choose to do with that danger. And from what I have seen, they choose to protect." The chamber doors opened. Captain Park Do-hyun walked in, followed by Dr. Lee Yuna and Lieutenant Kim Taiwu. They walked to the center of the floor and stood before the assembly. 200 species looked at 3 humans. Do-hyun bowed his head slightly in respect. Then he spoke. "We did not come here to frighten you," he said. His voice was calm and clear. "We came here because we were curious. Humans have spent our entire existence looking up at the stars and wondering if we were alone. When we found out we were not, we were excited. We wanted to meet you, to learn from you, to share what we have learned." He looked around the chamber. His eyes met the eyes of beings from 100 different worlds. "Yes, we come from a death world. Yes, we are built for survival in ways that seem scary to you. We have teeth made for tearing meat. We have bodies that can take damage that would kill most species. We have minds that are always looking for danger, always ready to fight." He placed his hand over his chest, over his heart. But that same world taught us something else. It taught us that life is precious. On Earth, death is everywhere. We lose people we love to disasters and diseases and violence. That is why we value life so much, because we know how easily it can be taken away. Yuna stepped forward. "On Earth, we have a saying, the most beautiful flowers grow in the darkest places. Our world is dark. It is dangerous, but it is also full of beauty. We learn to create art and music and stories. We learn to love and laugh and dream. We did not just survive our world. We found joy in it." Taiwu spoke next. His voice was harder than the others, but his words were sincere. "I have spent my life training to fight, to protect. Not because I love violence, but because there are people who cannot protect themselves. On Earth, the strong protect the weak. That is the code I live by. That is the code all of us live by." Do-hyun continued. "We know you are afraid of us. We understand. If we saw beings like us, we would be afraid too. But fear is not a reason to reject someone. Fear is a reason to learn more about them, to understand them, to see if they can be trusted." He extended his hand, palm open. The same gesture he had made after his presentation about Earth. "We are humans. We come from a hell of fire and storm and blood. We survived it. We conquered it. And now we are here, reaching out to you in friendship." His voice softened. "We do not want to be your weapon. We do not want to be your soldiers. We want to be your friends, your partners, your allies. We want to use what Earth gave us to make the galaxy a better place, safer, kinder, more beautiful." He looked at the assembly with eyes that were honest and open. "Give us a chance. Let us show you what humanity can be." The chamber was silent for a long time. Then, slowly, the Moravi representative Keth stood up. "I vote yes," he said. Any species that can fight like that and still choose peace deserves respect. Another representative stood. Then another. One by one, the species of the assembly voiced their support. Not all of them, but most of them. Enough. The vote was recorded. Humanity was granted full membership in the Galactic Assembly. But more than that, they were given a special classification that had never existed before. Deathworld Survivors. It was a title of respect. A recognition of what humans had overcome. A promise that their strength would be honored. In the years that followed, human ships could be found across the galaxy. They were at the front lines of every disaster, helping species rebuild after earthquakes and storms and accidents. They were at the edge of every conflict, standing between the weak and those who would hurt them. They were at the heart of every mystery, driven by the same curiosity that had pushed them to the stars in the first place. They became the galaxy's protectors, its problem solvers, its hope. And whenever a new species joined the assembly and asked about the humans, the answer was always the same. Ask them about their homeworld. Watch them smile when they tell you. Watch them say, Deathworld Class 12, like it is something to be proud of. Because it is. It is the story of a species that looked at an impossible world and said, we will not just survive. We will thrive. It is the story of beings who were forged in fire and came out stronger. It is the story of humanity, and it was only the beginning. Far across the galaxy, on a small blue planet covered in water and wrapped in clouds, a child looked up at the night sky. She could not see the station where her people had changed history. She could not hear the vote that had welcomed her species to the stars. But she knew. She knew that somewhere up there, humans were doing what humans had always done. Surviving, fighting, protecting, loving, being human. She smiled and made a wish on a falling star. She wished for adventure. And the universe, as it always did, began to answer.